putting together the prize table, actual prize table, talking to all the industry support and whatnot. That's a very fun position because I'm getting to talk to people, make connections, and network, and let them know that we're here and we want to help them.
You don't have a problem with the call I've made? Let's have a beer and talk about it. I've got no problem talking to anybody about anything, and if you have a problem with it, come and tell me, and we may not resolve it to the satisfaction of every party, but I will hear anything that anybody wants to say because my goal is shooters to be happy, ROs to be happy. That's, to me, what makes a good event.
Welcome to the 3 Gun Show, brought to you by Armalite Rifles, LAG Tactical, and Breda Shotguns. I'm your host, Dave Hartman. This week is a fun little behind-the-scenes podcast with several of the senior match staff at the Texas 3 Gun Championship, match director Kurt Gruber, range master Aaron Hayes, and sponsor advocate / social media maniac Garrison, England. And we discuss what it takes to put on a Texas-sized 3-gun match. This podcast is also brought to you by LAG Tactical. I've been using LAG mag pouches and holsters for years, ever since James Casanova introduced me to their Nova holsters and their first-generation competition mag pouches. They have a new design for mag pouches out now in the MCS, the modular carry system, which features a two-piece design and fits a wide variety of pistol mags as well as different brands of AR mags. I got to see the prototypes in action when Scott Green won the Lucas Oil PCC Championship, and I'm excited to run them myself. Check them out at lagtactical.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Armalite. Through Armalite, I am able to get special pricing for listeners on their line of 3-gun rifles. They have a 13.5 and an 18-inch model, both with Armalite's patented tunable comp, Timney triggers, Luth AR stocks, and they're ready to go right out of the box. If you're more of a build-your-own rifle kind of person, I have a few of their competition handguards left in 12-inch and 15-inch sizes as well. So when you're in the market for a rifle or components to build your own, just email me, dave@3gunshow.com, and I will hook you up. Anytime you see me on the range, you can check out my rifle. I'm currently rocking the 13.5-inch Shorty 3-gun rifle with a Vortex Optics Viper PST 1-6 on it, which I'm really enjoying. One last thing before we get into the interview here. This Saturday, March 31st, I will be holding the second 3-Gun Show Intro to 3-Gun class in Colorado. We still have a couple spots left, so if you or someone you know is interested in signing up, check out the link in the show notes at 3gunshow.com/episode 181. This class is designed to be a low-pressure way to familiarize new shooters to the safety, gear, rules, and culture of 3-gun. It will be 3 to 4 hours depending on how many questions we get, and we will cover everything you need to know to make it through your first match safely. Again, a registration link is in the show notes at 3gunshow.com/episode 181. The Texas 3-Gun Championship is at a new range this year, and I caught up with 3 of the senior match staff mid-match to discuss how it was working out on the range, what their goals are for the match, and some of the best practices when dealing with match staff. So enjoy this one with Aaron, Garrison, and Kurt. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
Thanks for having us, Dave.
I'm happy to be here, Dave.
I'm happy to be here. I'm in Match HQ at the Texas 3-Gun Championship, and with me is Kurt Gruber, match director of TX3G. Kurt, how you doing, man?
Good. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great, man. It's rare that I'm out this late on a night where I have to shoot in the morning.
Yeah, you early squad or late squad?
I think I'm late. I'm late squad, but late isn't that late tomorrow.
It's 10:20. That's pretty damn
10:20?
late. Yeah.
Okay, I'm fine then. Aaron, how you doing?
I'm excellent.
You look excellent, dude.
Well, thank you. Had a nice long day on the range, so yeah, just unwinding a little bit here. It's good to be here.
It is.
I would not want to be anywhere else.
Really? Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. Garrison, what's going on, man?
Nothing much, man. Been running around the range all day.
So we spent the afternoon together cruising around doing some social media stuff for the Texas 3-Gun Championship Instagram and the Facebook page, which is kind of unique. It's something that I rarely get asked to do for matches, and it seems like you guys have kind of come from like the traditional match space to like jumping into like the 21st century here and we're going to talk about that one in a minute here. But the the first thing we're going to cover is we're in the match HQ at, and help me out, is it Revelry Peak?
Reveille Peak Ranch.
Reveille.
Yep.
Okay, so
Like
Reveille
that
Peak Ranch.
Stupid dog in A&M.
Say it again?
Well, it's like that stupid dog that's the mascot for the Texas A&M. Reveille. Anyway.
Is that how they name this place?
I don't think so, but the owner is a big Aggie, so it's
Yeah, I was gonna
possible.
say I've seen some Aggie paraphernalia
There's
around.
definitely
so.
some Aggie paraphernalia around.
And now we're not getting invited back.
I'm guessing Kurt was not an Aggie.
Kurt did not go to A&M.
No, actually, I believe there actually is a really cool mountain-ish area on the ranch called Reveille Peak.
Okay.
So that's probably how it got its name.
I got you. And so we're at a new venue, Copperhead Creek last year, Reveille Peak Ranch this year.
Yep.
What's the reason for the switch there? I mean, obviously changing venues from a match that's been around for 4 years now.
This is
right?
the fourth year.
Fourth year.
You know, it was
It's a big thing, right?
It was, and God, we didn't realize how much of a big thing it was until we started moving stuff. But yeah, I mean, we had a great run at Copperhead Creek. One of the big things is between us and Three Gun Nation, there was a lot less unique stuff that could be done there.
Mm-hmm.
You
felt like you just done it all.
Well, I think we could have probably put on another year or two of great. I mean, we could have kept putting on great matches there, but it would have got fairly old. I mean, because we would have been doing a lot of the same stuff over and over again.
Right.
So then
Same areas being
because
being
there were no new shooting areas that people hadn't seen that we were going to be able to find and use. All of the newer shooting areas had been taken over by their sporting clays, which they've got probably the #1 sporting clays range in Central Texas. So obviously they're not going to do anything to hurt that business.
Yeah. Well, and let's be completely honest. Like Sporting Clays brings in a lot more money than Three Gun does.
Having a prime sporting clays range is like printing money.
Yes.
And it's a lot less work for the range
Right.
Yeah.
than it is to deal with. I mean,
Because all that stuff just stays there, right?
putting on a big event like this, I mean, the range itself has to do a lot of work
Yeah.
too. So
Right.
it had gotten to the point where we were kind of, I hate to use the word interfering, but conflicting with a lot of their business because they've
Right.
been getting busier and busier every year.
Right.
Because when we first started out there, they were a fairly new range. And as their daily business, especially on nice weekends, builds up, there was just more and more conflict with them trying to do their regular thing and still fit us in. So
And with the sporting clays range, one of their primary businesses has always been corporate events, and that has just continued to grow as the sporting clays range got more and more popular. So I mean, when you look at it from a financial perspective, it made sense. At that point, they told us we could continue to have the match there if we limited the registration to 100 shooters.
Wow.
So,
Which is like a weekend match.
yeah,
It's a club match, right?
basically.
yeah, and we may still
pretty
do
much.
some other events there. We're talking about doing maybe some team events or some
Yeah.
kind of more specialty events, which would fit within what their accommodation requirements are. But for
Yeah.
this match, the owner of this place, Vol Montgomery, had been trying to get a match out here for a couple years. So it just seemed like a good time for us to move. I mean, we left amicably
Sure.
with
Yeah.
Copperhead Creek. So, but yeah, we're excited to be at a new place.
Well, and Aaron, we've talked in the past about doing like a IPSC shotgun style match. Copperhead's like just pretty close to your shop there. Is that still in the?
It is, yeah. Actually, me and Garrison are kind of talking about doing something later in this year. I don't know whether we'll pull it off because announcing matches on short notice, kind of limits who can come if they've already got schedules made. So
You almost have to do it in the fall for the next year.
it's getting tougher and tougher with so many
Yeah.
matches now.
So many good matches. Too.
Yeah, and we're going to try to do something that we think will draw a certain, like a shotgun match, right? That draws a certain crowd that
Yeah.
may or may not overlap with the main 3-gun crowd. So if we can do something like that where it doesn't conflict in a huge way, we may pull it off. But one of our goals is not to step on toes. We try to be good neighbors with our match. Unfortunately, that didn't happen this year because our scheduled weekend we didn't realize was Easter.
Yeah.
And then the schedule had kind of already filled out, and then we realized it, and all of our wives basically informed us that if we had a match on Easter,
Yeah.
it was probably going to be the last match of our careers. So
Yeah, and it was only about a week in between setting that date and realizing, hey, we're idiots.
Sure.
Because we had done our due diligence looking and seeing when the NRA convention was, because that was usually our primary thing that we pivoted off of.
And what do you schedule before that, after that?
Schedule, well, I mean, around it.
Yeah.
Because it all,
Usually before.
Especially this year, or the last few years, they've been doing huge jumps.
Right.
Well,
this year it's in Dallas. It's like, what, May 3rd?
Yeah,
it's later this
4th,
year, yeah.
First weekend
First
in May.
weekend in May.
Yeah.
Because I have to go.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, it's going to be so that was a big thing, and then, in all fairness, we did reach out to some of the other matches that happen to be around us, or then especially the one that happens to be also going on this weekend, and asked them if they had set their date, and got zero response. So, and that was even before we moved our date. We just happened to announce the move of our date the same day they announced their date.
Right. It's really tough right now because there's so many great matches in so many different parts of the United States. Like I talked to like guys who've been around doing it forever, like Mark Roth, and he's like, yeah, we had 7 matches. We practiced for 2 months in between, and we shot a match.
Right.
But right now, Superstition, Mystery Mountain 3-gun is the one that's going on in Arizona. And I remember calling up a industry partner and saying, hey, you should look at Texas 3-gun. And they're like, no, we can't do it because it's the same weekend as SMMG, right?
SMM
Superstition.
3G.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's unfortunate, but, I mean, that match still sold out.
Yeah.
We still
Well, and
virtually
that-
sold out. We had a few drop out at the last minute, but so
Yeah.
it's
that
better
part-
for shooters because West Coast guys can do that and
Yeah.
not have to come here and it's
and-
not all a bad thing.
No, I don't
to
think it
be
is, but
honest-
it's becoming more frequent, right?
Right.
It's
And-
becoming
yeah.
harder to not do, for
It
sure.
is absolutely, because there's so many great matches out there. And then, like, spoiler alert on
Right.
that story, that partner is a stage sponsor here now. So
Yes. Yeah.
apparently,
Right.
they saw the value in the match anyway. But
And we appreciate it.
We
Yeah,
do.
for sure.
We absolutely do. And and I talked to them before and had been given the same answer.
Yeah.
That because Superstition was local to them, obviously that was where they were going to go. The other thing is, honestly, when you really look at the 2 matches, there couldn't possibly be 2 more different matches.
yeah,
So in the end, the customers, the shooters, got to choose whether they wanted to go shoot a bunch of really technical bay stages that are always very well built, always, have very interesting props because they use a lot of USPSA type swingers and movers, or a much more wide open high round count, outlaw,
And from a shooter's perspective, that's great. Like, if I could choose between 2 majors every weekend,
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be a good year.
Right.
So
yeah. It's like, well, do you want strawberry or vanilla ice cream tonight?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, chocolate? Cool. You can have that next weekend.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. And it really is like an abundance of options and makes like difficult to make those decisions. But with Texas being very near and dear to my heart, and I've haven't shot anything in Arizona or anything like
Right.
that has Superstition. This is where I landed. Excited to be here, of course, as
We're happy to
always.
have you.
But the Revel Ranch. So this, I first heard of this place, and I honestly didn't remember that I had heard of it, but as a Spartan race venue.
Yep.
So I raced Spartan races for a long time, and then I peeled off from there, and then I was like, I'm going to focus like all my effort on 3-gun. And my buddy came down here and run a race by himself, and it was the very first one that we didn't run together.
Right.
And I remember him cruising down here, running this race, and coming back, and he borrowed my Camelback, and that thing came back like drenched in red dirt, red
Right.
mud, and like
And now you understand.
it was inside the effing bladder of that thing, and like I had to throw away the bladder, and I could only keep the thing. And like even now and that was like 4 years ago. And now when it still rains, red dirt comes out of that thing, and now I freaking get it.
You'll never
because-
get it out.
You get it.
No.
It's in the bathtub drain of the VRBO that we're staying at now.
I've been on this range for almost 9 days straight, and I think it's in my I'm going to be at the Pentagon next week for work, walking down the halls of the Pentagon, dripping red dirt
Well, I'm looking
out
right
of
now.
my pants legs.
You either have a sunburn or you're just got a little bit of dust on you.
Yeah.
It looks
Or
like
I'm gonna go wash
self-tanner
it
is
off.
what it looks like.
Does.
Yeah.
It does. It honestly looks like self tanner. It's kind of funny.
A little too much self-tanner today. Oh, no, I was just at the range.
Yeah.
You guys should wait till you clean your ears. 'Cause
Oh, yeah.
I did that, and that's an experience.
Yeah, it's nasty. Go blow your nose and watch the red snot.
Well,
rockets
and I'm
come
even
out.
I'm even camping right here on the range. So I've literally got to the point where every few hours during the night I wake up and have to douse my eyes in Visine because I've got so much red dirt built up in my eyes it's crusting up.
Yeah. So how did you guys come upon this range?
So Vol actually really hunted us down.
Vol is the owner of the
Vol's
property?
the owner of the
Okay.
property. So Vol got to know. So actually, the first time I ever got Vol's contact information, it was from Dave Teal at Glock.
Okay. Dave's here. I saw Dave today.
Yeah, he is, and he had met Vol at some conference and passed on his contact info. In the meantime, Diane Ryan Muller got to know Vol and came out here and did some long range shooting and saw the property. And when they were here for the Texas 3-Gun Championship one year, so then they brought Vol over to the match to see what we were doing. We started a dialogue. I started coming out here to shoot some club matches. Local club has a monthly club match out here, and Vol, took me around the property, showed me the property. So after about the week before we got the information on having to drop the registration to 100 shooters, we were out here, and Vol was kind of taking us around, showing us the property, showing us what we could do. And if you remember, I don't know if you remember much about shooting Copperhead Creek.
Sure.
Remember everywhere we placed a target, they had to build
Yes.
a berm behind it.
Yeah, it was what I call an ornamental berm.
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
just like a mound of dirt,
Yeah.
but
So here, we were looking at, we're talking about Vol, what his quote unquote safety rules, et cetera, were, and there was a big flamed out area on the hill, and
Like a burn patch.
Yeah, like a big burn patch.
Okay.
But it had been wet. There was no way there had been an accidental fire there. So we're like, so what happened up there? He's like, yeah, we were testing some experimental RPG rounds, and they ended up being a little bit more incendiary than we expected. I said, so that's what we.
RPG.
And I'm like, so RPG rounds, that's kind of where our cutoff is for safety stuff. And he's like, yeah, you're good. As long as it's in a safe direction, you're good. We're like, kick
Right
ass.
on.
all right then.
Game on. So then the next week we went to the meeting where we were told 100 shooters, and we called Vol, set a contract, set a date, and here we are.
Cool. So we're in like the Austin-ish area, right? We're pretty close to Austin.
About
Was
an
it-
hour.
Yeah,
About an hour. Was it important to keep it in that area?
absolutely.
Yeah, just for, the proximity to the airport
Yeah.
and places to stay and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a couple matches that do well that are way in the boonies.
Right.
But since we've been at Copperhead and everyone was kind of used to it being within an hour of Austin, we kind of wanted to maintain that distance. So it worked out well.
And we still really have the Texas Hill Country feel here.
Right.
And that's,
Yeah, for sure.
that's a big part of, kind of the Highland Lakes, which is what they call all the lakes around here, Lake Buchanan.
Yeah, we're staying on right on.
Yeah, you're also
Lake
in
Buchanan.
a VRBO.
Yeah.
That seems to be the going thing here too, is baller lake houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
I don't know if
Yeah,
ours is like really.
cribs.
I don't know if
There's
ours
been
is
some
really
MTV
long.
renting
cribs.
places here, and I've been seeing pictures of this.
Yeah.
And it's like insane
Right.
homes.
And here
Really?
we are staying in campers on the
Yeah,
range.
exactly.
I
And
got in.
aren't you usually the camper guy?
Yeah, I'm usually the camper guy.
You're usually the camper guy, and you're staying in a
Unfortunately,
baller crib.
It's changing a little bit. We're not actually in a baller crib. We're in like the dudes that had to pay for their own crib.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm with the crew from Dissonant Arms. It's a pretty cool
Okay.
place for sure. We have like a really long.
I can see Lan and Mike having a baller crib.
I could too, honestly. I was really surprised, but I'm happy to have a spot
Yeah.
to sleep. Sorry, guys, but
Dust, man. We're all fighting it.
Yeah.
yeah, I meant sorry for them for making
gotcha,
the place
gotcha.
that they chose to
I thought it was coughing. My bad.
when I'm a guest. Such a jerk.
I sure hate this free bed.
I know. Well,
It'll be about
Okay.
a week before they were here.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You're good.
It's not gonna be awkward when I get home. but anyway, we got this like really long walkway that goes out to like a dock that's out on the lake, and it's really trippy. Like coming from Colorado, thinking like
Right.
all these houses are right on the lake, because everywhere in Colorado, like all the lakes are they're non-residential. You know,
Right.
they're like national forest, national park, shit like that. So
What-
it's pretty cool here.
what's
And if
interesting-
we could actually drive across the lake, we'd be like 8 minutes from the range.
Well, what's interesting is all of those baller lake houses are almost just as close to Copperhead Creek, but because there were regular hotels in Marble Falls, everybody stayed in regular hotels.
Oh, weird.
I mean,
Dude,
so
you know, I'm seeing a lot more people stay in Airbnbs and VRBOs.
that's
and
been the way to go for a long time.
It has been the way to go for a long time, but I think this sounds like really self-congratulatory, but I think like talking about it on the podcast and mentioning like how cool it is all the time is really starting to spread the word of like, hey, let's think about some different methods here, and you can actually do it a lot cheaper than you can like a hotel too.
Yeah, that's how we used to roll. I mean, I remember when Garrison was talking about the three of them sharing a stanky room
Oh,
at Rock
what I would have done for a
Rock
VRBO.
Castle.
Oh, I know,
I rented
right?
a house that weekend.
that same weekend, I was chilling in a VRBO that Adams Arms rented for us.
Yeah.
You know, because Adams Arms used to rent VRBOs all over the country for the team.
Yeah, I mean, that's smart.
So-
They were like innovators in the thing. Yeah, I've got a couple squad mates that were talking about their hotels, and like someone wanted to save $8 a day, so they're like kind of squished and it's a little danky and stuff. And I'm like, you don't listen to the podcast enough.
Right.
Yeah, but there are like some pretty cool places to stay around here. The restaurant scene leaves a little something to be desired.
Yes.
There's like 3 choices, and
Marble Falls is really your choice.
you should go to Marble Falls.
Yes.
Is that it? Because there's a sweet barbecue place in Burnett that's not even on Google Maps right now.
Is it ever open?
Yes.
I smell it when I go by, but I've never seen it actually open.
Funny story. So we were with the guys from ATC, Air Gold Triggers, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we want a place to eat." And Lyle Chambers, who gave me an awesome barbecue recommendation when I was in Fort Worth, he's like, "Well, this place is pretty good, and it's called the Green Fly." So that one's free, everybody. But we roll in there like 8 o'clock, and I roll in. There's like 8 shooters in there. Eventually, there's like 22 of us in there because rumor spreads and stuff like that. This morning, I find out they closed at 7, but they stayed open because we were there.
Wow.
We probably like doubled their entire day's business just by all of us shooters being there. So
There's so much barbecue in this part of Texas.
there really is.
Yeah.
Literally
I mean-
any place that has a sign that says barbecue, you're probably good to go.
Yeah,
it's all
exactly.
good.
Honestly, if you
It's
went
total
down,
opposite in Colorado.
honestly, if you went down to 29 and went 20 miles the other direction to Llano, you'd go to one of the best barbecue places in Central Texas.
Really?
Yeah.
Where were you last night?
A place called Cooper's. I mean, I was
I would say the whole world,
on the
not just
friggin'
Central
range.
Texas.
Really? Cooper's is like the whole
yeah.
world?
Legit.
Oh, it's
Really?
good. So especially if you like pork chops, they do this smoked giant pork chop that they dip in this special herb butter. It is. It's yeah. Anyway, it is fat guy heaven.
Nice. Nice. All right, so we're out at Revelry Ranch now. The match is on the ground. Took a lot to move everything out here. I was watching your guys' Facebook.
Yeah.
Garrison, good job on that one, by the way.
welcome.
And you guys had to get like an 18-wheeler to move all your gear out here.
We have the 18-wheeler driver sitting right
Driver
here.
right there.
Hey,
Yes.
all right.
Yeah.
It's good to know a guy, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, it was he was on call, so he needed to have his truck with him. So
Come on, give him a shout out. Give him a free one.
Mr. D. Decker,
King of the hobo camp.
king of the hobo camp.
So, Aaron, what does it take, like logistically, to move all that stuff out here to get it to a new range, finding a new home?
A lot of picking up and putting down, for sure.
Yeah.
So the first thing you do, we had that match out there for 3 years. You don't. It's kind of like when you go to move
Yeah,
from
you
your
don't
house
realize how
after you've
much
been there for a
shit
while.
you
You don't
have.
realize how much stuff you have.
How
and
much
you don't,
where it's all spread
You
out.
don't realize how much, different locations everything is in. So first we had to gather everything, inventory. Some of the targets were ours, some of them were copperheads, so we had to go through and separate it all, get it all on trailers. Of course, anyone who goes to a match knows that there's match trailers, right? You drag everything around on. Well, they were far from roadworthy, so
Oh, really?
they had to make it here. So we had to do some trailer maintenance, target maintenance. Like it was good to organize and sort everything and do a bunch of maintenance. But yeah, it was a lot of work.
And we really benefited from one of our really great sponsors of the match.
Yeah.
Happens to have a company that has some moving capabilities.
Yeah, Highland Lakes Ammo actually stepped up really big and helped us move it. They sent out a couple guys and
Yep, they sent
a
out
big
a
old
crew of guys
trailer,
in a
and pretty
trailer
much
and-
all we did was set it on pallets, paint it green, and they showed up. And
You're kidding.
And that was his sponsorship for
Yeah.
the match.
Yeah, that was his sponsorship.
was
for the
labor
match.
and transport.
how
for
And
the
it
cool
was
was that?
probably the ballerest sponsor because
It was the easiest
Oh,
thing, too, because
yeah.
I just texted him today. He showed up. He had a guy with a skid steer with forks, and he just picked it all up and loaded it up on a trailer and drove it out for us, unloaded it, and
Yep.
we really appreciate that. Highland Lakes.
Jared Halbert. Props to the man.
yes,
Absolutely.
Saved our backs.
yes.
Yeah, it's good to
Saved my
good to
marriage.
have friends.
Saved my marriage because if I'd spent too many more weekends at that stupid range palletizing stuff, I was going to be in trouble.
It's good to have friends with heavy equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
but
sounds like the move was easy. You
well,
guys
no,
didn't do
but
anything? Come
I
on.
mean, so even though we had that, we did. In addition to the giant haul truck load, the haul truck load, we 20 tables, 32 barrels.
And this is all the stuff that you guys have
the
built and
A-frame.
amassed over a bunch of years, right?
The A-frame, I mean, a ton of stuff, and then still about half a dozen utility trailer loads of our own, in addition to the stuff that the movers moved.
Right.
So, I mean, you have no idea until you really dig into it. We had no idea, and we still have stuff at Copperhead Creek. You might notice that there was no Alamo stage this year.
Yeah.
That's because the Alamo is still at Copperhead
Alamo
Creek.
still at Copperhead Creek. Yeah. I was wondering if you guys
There
were gonna
may
bring
never be
that.
another Alamo stage.
You know what's kind of funny is we were walking stages on Thursday, and we come around the corner, and there's that freaking A-frame. And, man, you should have heard the cussing. coming. We were in Jay Christensen's UTV, and, yeah, there's a lot of people that were swearing up and down about that thing.
We told everybody the A-frame moved. We gave them fair warning.
I
if it
don't
moved-
think people listened.
If it moved, you knew it was going to be used because that some bitch was heavy.
Yeah, I know. We weren't going to move it if
And not use it.
yeah, not use it.
So how much of the build, the stage on the stages on the ground now are going to be stationary? Do you guys have to move all that stuff on Monday? Like, what's the plan there?
So we've got, we benefited again this year from having the mastermind, Brian Corey, design a lot of the base stages. We also got lucky that him, along with two guys, Ronnie and Cody, came out and they a week ago, so Friday last, and started building. And they built, throughout the whole week. We built a couple stages. We built 4 of the stages. We built 5 of the stages. They built 5 of the stages, basically. Well, starting tomorrow, Brian loses Ronnie and Cody and pretty much gets to tear down by himself.
Oh, man.
So,
I tried to help Brian today. I shot one of his walls in half.
yeah.
I did send those
That was
splinters.
you?
Yeah, I did send those splinters right into a target, so I totally got the target.
Right.
But at least 1/4 of my pattern of my shotgun was on the target, and at least 3/4 was in that wall. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, but you know what? That is the brilliance of that particular wall design.
It's like $7, right?
First of all, you build the whole wall for $7, but you also can fix it with a friggin' target stake.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, and
I
the
mean-
thing that I like about it a lot, especially coming from Colorado. So Colorado, they're like, hey, it's windy in eastern Colorado. I'm like, well, it's kind of windy in Texas.
Yeah.
I'm not. And
Yeah, yesterday was a little windy.
Oh, God. So they're like, why don't we just build these walls heavier so they don't blow around? Like, cool, because we got to move these around whether
Yeah.
it's windy or not. So,
Yep.
yeah, so
And
that's
ju-
one thing I appreciate about Brian Corey's walls is that they are very light
Yep.
and they're see-through.
And we have an abundance of barrels here too, so he was able to build 2 barrels on both sides of every wall, which helped the walls from going anywhere also.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they definitely weren't moving in the wind or anything because they're basically like frames with God, what is that black plastic stuff called? It's just like basically
It's, some kind of mesh, I'm not sure.
snow fence is
Yeah.
what it looks like.
But, yeah.
Kind of like snow fence, maybe
We
a little
don't
bit
know
lighter.
what that is here.
We don't have that.
Oh yeah. Well, it looks like those walls that Brian Corey makes.
Yeah.
What is this snow fence we speak of?
Yeah. Well, that's good times. So teardown starts after the match tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
That
he's
is
going to
all-
be doing this on his own?
He'll be getting some help,
Yeah.
but He'll be doing a lot
But
of
his
it.
big helpers go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what about the Texas 3-gun stages?
Everything goes.
They do a lot of other
So
events
you guys
out
don't
here.
leave anything up here?
No.
Okay.
I mean,
No,
we'll tear it all
I mean-
down, and targets will stay here, but they
Right.
won't.
So,
They
I
won't
mean-
stay set up.
So do you guys have like a storage area?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so the first few days we were here building, there was an Air Force training event going on simultaneous to it. So we were having to work with them on making sure that we were weren't using bays that they needed for their training event, and kind of coordinating with them. It actually culminated in a pretty cool to watch assault on the building we're in right now.
Oh, really?
Which was really interesting considering our ROs were showing up about that same time for the RO match, and they saw the cars down at the building. It said building, and so they all headed down to the building. We're like, hey, bro, they're going to assault this building in like 2 minutes. So y'all should probably roll in. And, they're rolling in with UTM sims. So if you've ever been shot with simunitions, it's not fun at all. This is not your daddy's paintball gun. It hurts.
It's like
It
roll
hurts
powder
a lot.
behind there, right?
Yeah. So they rolled in, stormed the building. They had a sniper that simulated taking out a guard, and then they roll in. And then
Yep.
at some point, they fired a couple of artillery rounds.
Yeah. We stood up on the hill and watched.
It was pretty rad.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
This is like a very unique place. There's like a lot of military training that goes.
It is. They
goes
do
on
all their
here.
shooting and
Yeah.
training during the week, and then actually on weekends, the property's open to come camp, and there's
Right.
a lot of mountain bike trails, a lot of the Spartan race trails.
Oh, really?
So, like, we're over in the RV campground, which is near their big pavilion right by the lake.
Okay.
And then we could see lights all night from people out riding
Yeah.
mountain bikes all night long.
Oh, you're
And
kidding.
I mean, they've deployed.
That's trippy.
They've done training missions where they've deployed troops on top of Reveille Peak with Chinooks, and
How big is this venue?
it's 1,350 acres.
No, 13,500.
No, it's 1,350
1350?
acres. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
We have
I misheard.
a decimal issue
Yeah.
here.
Math is hard.
Actually, had that conversation with Vol today.
Okay.
But yeah,
1,350
1,350
okay.
acres.
That's a lot.
It's kind of amazing the coolness that he's got on this property, because he's got the mountain bike trails. He's got the Texas Tactical Police Officers Association did their SWAT match here last year, and over in the area kind of where they're camping, there's a little lake, and there's a zip line across the lake, and they did a zip line assault across the lake as part of the Texas Tactical Police Officers match.
I think they're having a PRS match out here
Yeah,
later this year, a major PRS match.
Oh,
They're gonna have
cool.
the Reveille Peak Open is going to be in, I think it's October time frame.
Right. So here we have like one, or as the match as this is right now, there's like one long range stage.
Right.
There's several what appear to be like 300-ish
Yeah.
yard bays that we're using like 200 yards of. So where are they holding like a PRS match at?
Well,
It's going to be all natural terrain.
It's gonna be
They're
all
going to
natural
shoot from the
terrain.
peak. They're going to
Yeah.
shoot. So when we were out here scouting this place, we could actually do an entire natural terrain match. Like Vol is cool with us shooting pretty much anywhere, and he's like, "You just tell me where we're going to shoot, and we'll set it up."
he's got a 6.5 mile sniper trail that would be perfect for something like a steel safari type match.
Oh yeah,
But we didn't want to bite off more than we could chew
Right.
first year.
yeah,
And just Copperhead had the mix of the bays and the natural terrain, so we kind of tried to stick to that theme.
right.
Just A, to keep the match kind of the same feel, and B, because we didn't want to come out here to a new venue and try to do a whole bunch of new stuff and
Yeah.
screw up the match.
There's
So-
also, remember those RPG rounds I was telling you about? Yeah, they're also going to create some new target areas on the mountain, on the hill.
Sweet,
So
creative demolition.
yeah,
Awesome.
it'll be a training event for somebody, but
But we're real happy with the match, the way the
Yeah,
stages have come out and
absolutely.
everything. I mean, it's a good mix of natural terrain, and we've got a couple of technical bays, they are in bays, but like you said, out to a couple hundred yards.
yeah, they're not your traditional bays.
There's
Yeah,
a couple of bays.
They're
There's
bays in that there's a berm on both sides and a berm at the end, but that's kind of where the bay definition ends. For these
Let's
bays.
talk about the bays then. So this is not like the traditional bay layout where someone put a ruler on the ground and drew some lines to infinity, and now we have these straight ass bays. Like, this is actually kind of a confusing place to be in the dark. I'm not gonna lie. In the morning, when
And
it
it's
was
really dark.
it was tough to figure out. And yeah, it is stinking dark. It's like Texas dark is the way to
Yeah.
describe it. But the
It's country dark.
country dark. So the bay layout is very unique here. So let's describe that a little bit. It's like kind of a fanning moving thing that follows like a ridge line.
Yep, and then
So-
there's some long and skinny ones. There's some short and fat ones. There's a 270 bay. There's
Yeah.
one with multiple
Right.
fingers that we're running in and out of all three sides. So it's
So the bays
Yeah,
are
and it
really,
has and it like next down to like one little area
Yep.
that you would
Right.
normally think of as like a bay entrance, but it goes into like 3
Yeah.
big bays.
Some have huge trees in them.
You know what's freaking
Like-
crazy is like how many bays we're not using here.
yes.
Yeah. Like there's a shitload of bays out here.
Yeah, and what's really cool is one of the really awesome things about this facility is that Vol, because he does work so much with military and law enforcement, had a really great map of the place built basically by the Corps of Engineers.
Did you see the date on that, by the way?
No,
1852.
what?
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think so.
Wow.
You guys got to look at it. We need a map. We need to
one
verify
Matt,
Dave's right.
Matt, please. Because
Matt, por favor.
Because I think Dave's full of S.
What does that say right there?
Holy cow, that's small. Oh. Yeah.
I mean, consider
1852.
You know,
That's
you-
right.
you know,
I remember the exact year.
You know,
I accept your apology.
You know the thing about that, Dave? None of those bays existed 10 months ago. So
oh, you're kidding.
yeah, all those bays are less than a year old.
Huh. So did they just decide like, hey, we want to hold matches here?
So it had a lot. It had a lot more to do with their training business.
Oh, okay.
So it used to be a lot more of the over on the other side of the road where you're not seeing. There's a lot of like creeks where they could do ambush training. There's a lot of amazing training areas, but they got into more of the like the JTAC guys that were here doing pre-deployment training, needing actual bays to shoot in. So we started building bays.
In fact, the first time we were out here scouting, there were no
Yeah,
bays.
there were no bays.
Really?
And
Yeah.
he was like, we're going to do all this and that. We're like, yeah, okay, that sounds like a lot of bays. We'll see
Yeah,
what happens.
right.
Damn it,
And
we
then-
didn't exactly what he said it would
Yeah,
be. So,
exactly.
Huh.
so you could run 3 major USPSA pistol matches out here simultaneously
Yeah,
and have leftover
absolutely.
bays.
Right.
No
you
problem.
could run
Yeah.
You could easily run nationals here.
There's a
2 or
ton
3
of
times
bays.
at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah, they need to grade the roads up.
And they're all filled with red
But
sand.
you know what? He has a grader on site.
he should use
He
it.
actually created new roads for us.
That's awesome.
I mean, that's the other great thing is that Vol is very willing to work with us and do kind of whatever we want.
Yeah. It does take a lot to move Earth, but it can be done. So finding someone who's like willing to put in the time and the effort to do
Yeah.
that is like a great partnership to
And
have.
it was like at one point he had a bulldozer that he had rented. He was like, "Hey man, I got this bulldozer. What do you need me to do? What do you
Nice.
need for the match?" Now, one of the things that's interesting. So the bay where Stage 5 is. So it's the one where you start on some long-range steel targets and you run. It's the red stitch stage.
Oh yes, yes,
So if you notice that bay is kind of odd shaped.
yes.
It about 100 yards deep, and then it juts over, and the next 100 yards is a lot skinnier. Mm-hmm. Well, that jut over used to be a lot bigger. However, I realized while we were building this week, as I watched the bulls using that dirt to cool themselves and moving that berm over every time they did it, the berms are changing drastically because of the cattle on the ranch.
Well, and there's a lot of water erosion that you can see right
Right.
now too. That
Yeah.
definitely those are brand new bays. But the funny thing is, like, we're doing that shooters meeting the first day, and you're like, yeah, watch out for cattle, blah blah blah, and just call a ceasefire. Oh, hey, there's one now. And I like looked over to where I thought like a cow would be, and I didn't see anything, so I looked away, and then someone like hit me in the shoulder, and I looked, and the thing's on top of the berm.
Yes.
It's like they're just like
I was-
walking
and
like
they
these
are
cattle trails
not
on top of the
afraid
berm.
of anything.
No.
Stage 2 today. I
Yes.
watched a shooter shoot. He was shooting some steel targets, and I look right up on the target, and there's a cow. Just walking right by the targets.
Yeah, we
kidding.
had
Yeah.
to chase cows off at Stage 2
Yeah,
pretty
so-
often today.
Yeah.
So that was when we had to remind everybody that they were supposed to shoo the cows, not shoot the cows.
Yes, yes.
And that if you shoot the cows in Texas, that's still a hanging offense.
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, I'm not kidding.
Do they do it though?
But we haven't shot one, so it's a good deterrent at the very least.
Well, I'm excited to find out at the end of that story.
But no, I mean, I was testing some of the targets on that red stitch stage, you know, because we had the magneto speed indicators on those targets, and I was testing them. And I'm sitting there shooting. All of a sudden, this bull walks over the top of the berm and just walks right down where I'm shooting. I'm like, well, okay. You know, and he had no f***s to give. I mean, he did not care. He was, I am going to eat. There is some tasty shit there, and I'm going to eat it.
Yeah. There's
all the lead in the grass.
Yeah.
Makes that prime grazing.
Yeah, cows are walking in circles, but they're all right. Well, okay, so another thing you guys have done this year for the match that is unique from last year is you have a dude in charge solely for sponsorship advocate, right? Mm-hmm. And that is
social media.
And social media. And that is you, Garrison.
That is me.
So in the lead up to it, you know, you're doing a lot of coordinating phone calls, emails, things like that with sponsors to make sure that we can have this great match, because it does take a lot of outside effort to put something like this on. But during the match, you're doing some unique things as well.
I tried to make it, you know, I've been to tons of matches, and I try to make it more than just for the shooters there. I'm trying to make it an event for everybody within our community.
Yeah. So something that people can see at home, right?
Yeah, I want people to be able to reach out, and you know, if you're part of the industry, we want to partner up with you. We want you here. All these empty bays, I would love to fill them with vendors for people to do something other than just shoot the stages and compete, so they can see the product. You know, I've heard people say, "Oh, you know, matches aren't worth sponsoring." Well, I want to change that.
Yeah,
like
I think people are using their match sponsorship wrong. Well, I have some ideas on that.
And honestly, one of the things that was a driving belief for us as a match all along, you know, coming into being shooters first, being sponsored shooters first. Hell, Aaron being a sponsor of shooters, was when we were building our sponsorship list all along. We really looked at ourselves as part of our sponsor's marketing department,
right?
While we're doing the match. And adding Garrison to the team was perfect, because Garrison was doing a lot of social media stuff, and I got really fucking busy with work. You know, Aaron was really busy with his shop. Brian White, our operations guy, got really busy at work. So Brian's working right now, getting scores together. So, you know, we really got to the point where we needed to add another, you know, member of the quote-unquote senior staff. And Garrison was doing great stuff with social media for his sponsors. So we were, you know, seeing what he was doing for his sponsors. You know, we've all known Garrison. We've all shot together for years. So, and Garrison's helped build the match before. You know, he never had any
set up the prize table.
Well, he never had any decision-making powers.
Yeah,
but he helped.
I was just a guy that swung
a hammer.
That's all
he swung a hammer for us.
We're real unique about how to keep me from being in that position.
But then he also the last 2 years in a row, once he got done shooting, he helped me put together the prize table. Which putting together the prize table sucks. It is by far the worst part of the job.
Physically, no. When you say, hold on, let me back that up. Putting together the
actual prize table on Sunday,
talking to all the industry support and whatnot. That's a very fun position, because I'm getting to talk to people, make connections, and network, and let them know that, you know, we're here and we want to help them.
Sure.
The actual, let's put it all in order and make sure people
put it on a plastic table.
Yeah, they put it on a plastic table to where I feel that everybody that has given us their hard-earned money, the shooter, goes home happy. That's my goal.
Right.
Is I want to make sure everybody leaves here. Make sure the sponsor is also getting the value. The shooter is also getting the value. That's a complicated thing, and I want to make sure everybody sees exactly what these people have donated, because you know, there's kind of a misconception that, oh, you know, prize tables are paid by somewhat of match fees. Well, no. Every bit of this $141,000 prize table we've built is 100% given by industry support.
That's awesome.
Like, we need the entry fees for everything else that goes on.
To pay the bills.
To pay the bills, keep the lights on. So,
and at the end of a 3-day match, the guys running the match don't really give a crap about laying on the table. So Garrison helping out the last 2 years was a godsend. And having somebody, a designated person that's all they do is sponsorship before the match, during the match, after the match, has taken such a load off of me and Brian and Kurt to where we can focus on the stuff we need to do, the scores, the everything else. On Sunday morning, typically, we're running our match, and me and Kurt and Brian all are working together to make sure we can all respond to calls and quick and all this stuff. Well, on Sunday morning, Kurt's like, all right, I'm out. I got to go do the prize table. And that leaves a big hole in our, in our groove here. So having Garrison to do that has really taken a literal load off our shoulders and a load off our minds to where we know we don't have to worry about it because it's going to be good. Because as a shooter, Garrison really cares about the prize table. Like that's like his final stage of a match.
That's the final stage.
You've discussed this previously.
Plus, you now have a scapegoat, which is awesome.
That's right. Garrison did it.
That's all terrible. They just blame it on me, and I can just fade off into the distance.
And that's something, from me being involved in this match, like I've shot a lot of matches, and I've been on the bad end of a couple of bad calls, and my goal here is to make sure that every shooter gets every benefit of every doubt that we can give them within the rule book. And
so let's talk about that real quick because, to my left here, Kurt's resting his hand on some gift certificates. Fortunately, there have been a few DQs of the match.
There have, yep.
I saw one on my stage, and it was pretty obvious when half the squad is running away from a muzzle that's being pointed at them, that everyone on the stage saw it, so there was no question.
Right.
But when you showed up, you went and contacted the shooter. You said, what happened? Tell me about it.
Yeah.
And you heard him out.
Yeah, just being heard, just let somebody tell you what happened. They need to vent. They're amped up.
Yeah.
I get that. If you need to vent, what I tell our ROs is if there's any kind of escalation with any issue at all, make a call. You can call match director or range master at the drop of a hat here. That is why I'm here. So, because what happens is a lot of matches is the shooters will get into it with an RO. Well, the RO's got a job to do. They've got to make sure the stage is run safe. We're trying to stay on schedule. So, if you need to vent, you need to complain, you need to air out, call me, and I'll stand there and talk to you all day. And I want to know their side of it because, like I said, as a shooter, I've explained my side, and it needs to be heard. And I'll try to give them every chance, to tell me what happened in their words. I talk to the RO. We review video here, which some matches don't, some matches do begrudgingly, But here I welcome it. And if there's conclusive video evidence that you didn't DQ.
I'm always confused by the begrudgingly. Like if there is technology available, why don't use it?
Yeah, I agree. And it's inconsistent because this is not like an NFL game where there's 50 cameras on every play.
Absolutely, and
it would be awesome if it was.
Yeah, and granted, you're not going to see everything.
Right.
But if it's possible to give the error on the side of the shooter, because as an RO, that's what you do, right?
It is.
If it's questionable, you get error on the side of the shooter.
If there's any way possible in that rule book that I can find to not DQ somebody, I will do it.
And we have a track record of that.
Yep.
For sure.
We threw out a stage last year based on the fact that the Shot Coach app tells me that the time is way off from somebody's video of what it showed on.
Yeah, we had some timing discrepancies on the stage, and you know what? I don't want anybody to get screwed. Right. I've been screwed before, and I didn't like it. So that's kind of how I view my role here is as a shooter's advocate. And because they're our customers, and I don't want anybody to be upset when they leave here. I know there are some people that are upset with me right now, and you know what? That's fine. I did the best I could, and that's fine. That's as a senior match staff that's responsible for the final call on a DQ. If somebody wants to be upset with me about it, I've got no problem with that because it sucks.
So that's a tough situation, right?
It is.
So I don't like when people are upset about me or upset with me. That's just my personality. Yeah. And for what I do as like Dave with the 3-Gun Show, I try to shy away from taking the timer even at local matches. Like I'll take the iPad. I'll be the first dude out there to reset steel and stuff like that. So, but I don't want to be in a position where I have to DQ someone because I had to DQ a friend on a questionable call, and the rule I thought was terrible. But I did, and it sucked, and I still feel weird about the guy. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's several.
So how is that for you?
I mean, nearly
this is a big match.
I think every shooter except for maybe one this weekend I know and have shot with.
Yeah.
So it's not easy.
We know all these guys.
Yeah. So it definitely
it's a tough spot, right?
You just have to separate. my job. If I was on that squad, I'd be arguing right next
Yeah.
to him against
And-
the DQ. And
and-
when I roll up at a stage and see, here's a DQ,
Yeah.
I put myself mentally in the position of that
Right.
shooter. If I was that shooter,
I
what
mean,
would I say?
How many times today did we do it when we were discussing a DQ? And honestly, it's actually. I mean, we're gonna have a after action on this because we have more DQs this year than we've had in the previous 3 years combined. Mm-hmm. But they're all just legitimate DQs. When you slug a friggin' popper that's 10 yards away, you're gonna get DQ'd.
Did it go down though?
Hell yeah, it went down.
yeah.
That's always
With
my first
authority.
question. Did it go down?
But at the same time, the number of times that Aaron and Brian and I had the conversation, well, Brian had the conversation, but Aaron and I, because Aaron and I shoot a lot of matches, had the conversation, dude, if that was me, what would I be thinking right now?
Oh, I would apologize.
Well, but I mean,
sorry, I
but
up your target.
yeah, oh yeah, and it was the one guy was like, "Hey, dude, bro, I'm so sorry. Here's $25 for your target."
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like we want to make sure that we're not screwing anybody.
Sure.
And a lot of that goes. The term bedside manner kind of comes to mind,
Right.
like how it's handled in the
Yeah.
30 seconds after a DQ happens is crucial.
Because there are
From the 30 seconds from when they actually call the DQ and the first 30 seconds
Yeah.
when I roll up on the stage,
So
it can
'cause
go
there are
so
a
many
couple
different
people
ways.
who didn't get Blizzard certificates, who didn't get the really cool
Right.
$20 gift cards from Dairy Queen.
$20?
$20, which is really interesting considering the guy who donated the $20 gift certificates got one of them back.
That's terrible.
However, there are a couple guys that didn't get $20 gift certificates because they were not going to be able to handle that.
Right.
That was beyond. And one of them got it like 30 minutes later. I'm like, bro, I know it was too early. I know it was a wrong time earlier, but you got to make sure you get something.
Right. Yeah.
And
Get a
he was
peanut
like, yeah,
butter
give me my.
parfait.
And he was like, yeah, give me my damn. Give me my damn gift card. And
So Aaron, talk about that first 30 seconds.
Well, emotions are high
Yes.
from the shooter. We're
Your
amped up.
adrenaline's already
We're
pumped
totally
up because
amped.
you're shooting, right?
The ROs work harder than anyone else out here, including
Oh,
all of
yeah,
us in this room.
absolutely.
I mean, ROing is a grind. So they're on edge. They're
What's your
tired.
Fitbit
we
say
we
today?
got some filthy sunburn.
Yeah, there's a
Fitbit
couple of
say
dirty
next to us
ROs
here.
sitting in here, and yeah, they work harder than anyone. And these matches would not happen without the ROs, and
Yeah.
we're incredibly grateful to everybody out here helping.
So the RO who's sitting right next to me, but his 2-day total is 33. Oh no, it's 33 miles.
Wow.
17.8 miles yesterday, 14-ish miles today, 15-ish miles today.
Wow.
So people are on edge, right?
Yeah,
and
for sure.
and as a
Tired.
match staff, I'm not holding a timer. I'm out here all day, but I spend
Yeah.
a lot of time driving between stages, so I'm in a much more
We spent a lot of time in our air conditioning in
Yeah,
our trucks
calm,
driving around
level.
from problem to problem.
mentality. And when you've got a situation where everybody's amped and everybody's upset and something abrasive just happened, just the injection of one calm and level presence,
Yeah.
just it gives everybody a chance to take a breath. I go talk to the RO, I go talk to the shooter separately. They can both vent to me if they need to, because sometimes we have personality clashes between shooters and ROs. It happens. I
Oh,
get
for
it.
sure.
If anybody who's ever worked with anybody in any capacity knows that personalities sometimes clash, especially
Yeah.
when stress is high. So
even like squad mates, you have.
yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
clashes with.
we're out here on a long weekend. It's tough. So I
And
just
you
try
chose
to
your squad mates.
yeah. So I just try to make sure that everybody gets
Usually.
to say what they need to say. You can say anything to me. I am not a super duper emotional roller coaster kind of guy. And
Yeah,
I
you're
f-
pretty even.
well, and I feel like that helps me in this capacity because if you want to yell at me, yell at me. There was a shooter today that things were a little heated, and then a little later the shooter came up to me and said, "I'm sorry for sassing you." And I said, "You know what? I'm the head sass receptor for this match. If I direct it all at me, because that's what I'm here for. I'm not here to try to avoid conflict. I'm not here to try to make it easy for myself. I'm here to do whatever I can to make sure that the right call is made. No matter what, at the end of the day, the call should be correct. That's my goal. That should be the goal of the ROs. That should be the goal of the shooters.
Yep.
And it, sometimes people tend to forget that in the heat of the moment. So
a third party, kind of impartial. Well, impartial may not be the right word because I'm helping run the match, but
Sure.
my goal is to make sure the correct call is made. Sometimes I've had conflicts with ROs, and that's fine.
Just
They
like
see it a different way.
like a mediator, right?
Exactly. Sometimes
Yeah.
somebody's going to disagree with me either way. If I roll
Sure.
up and here's a call, I've got to say the RO is right or the shooter's right. Well, whoever's on the other end of that is not going to be happy with me.
Right.
And that's fine. I
People
don't have
like
a problem
being
with that. No, they don't.
Yeah.
But neither do I. So when I roll up in this and look at it from two sides, which one is correct,
Right.
I want to get it correct. There's a lot of talk about backing ROs, and that's very important because you want your ROs to feel like
Sure.
you've got their back. But I've also seen some incidences at other matches where backing the RO meant the shooter got the short stick,
Yes.
just for the sake of backing the ROs.
Yes.
And while I respect the match admin's choice to do that, the shooter's your customer. And if you got a guy who feels like he got boned just because the match admin sided with their RO, and that's the only reason,
Right.
to me that's a problem. As a shooter, I have a major problem with that. As match admin, I don't want people to
Right.
think that of our match, so I have a problem with
Well,
that from either side.
And if you look at it from like a customer service perspective, where like an individual is going to either come back or not, and then they're going to tell a friend this is good, or tell a friend it's not good.
Right.
If they're going to tell a friend it's good, they're going to tell 1-2 friends. If they're going to tell a friend it's bad, it's going to be 10.
All of Facebook's
yeah.
going to know about it.
Everyone's going to know.
Yep.
Yeah, and the
Everyone
other thing
should
is
know.
that we shoot in crews, right? I'm very unique in the fact that like I do stupid things like drive 15 hours to Texas to by myself to shoot, right? Most people like Garrison in the episode we had him on the podcast, we talked about like unique ways to save money doing this. You load up an entire truck, 5 people, right? So if you upset, say, someone in your crew,
Yep. My
the
whole
entire
crew remembers
crew's not
that.
coming back.
Exactly.
Right?
And I don't want that to be the image of this match. So if
Sure.
I mean,
on site, if like I said, anybody can say anything to me, and I can take it and I'll listen, and I get it. I totally get it because I've been in that position many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to come talk to me about it the next day, if you're upset but you don't want to talk to me while you're upset and you want to come talk about it the next day, that's fine. As a shooter, as an RO, if any of the ROs here, you don't have a problem with the call I've made, let's have a beer and talk about it. I've got no problem talking to anybody about anything, and if you have a problem with it, come and
Right.
tell me, and we may not resolve it to the satisfaction of every party, but I will hear anything that anybody wants to say because my goal is shooters to be happy, ROs to be happy.
Right.
That's to me what makes a good event. And
I've been in that position. I have a match that I'll never go back to that I actually kind of enjoyed, but one of my teammates got completely screwed by the match staff.
And every crew
And-
has everybody remembers that one really bad experience, and that's a mental note that when they're going through their schedule for the year, okay, what are we doing this year? Well, cross that one off because of this one specific incident. And I know
Right.
that's not totally
Yeah.
100% avoidable, but
the-
I'm doing everything I can
Sure.
to
And-
avoid it.
But the other side
treating
of that is
people
I'm
with
telling all my
respect
sponsors
is-
not to sponsor that match
Right.
because of what happened.
Yeah, depending on the shooter, and that kind of sounds bad because it sounds like we might play favorites. We don't.
We don't.
When I roll up on a stage, I go talk to the RO, find out what happened, and I don't even want to know who the shooter is until I have to. And I say, okay, who was it? And I'll go talk to them, and we deal with it. But yeah, we try to make it as impartial as possible. I've DQ'd good friends. I've DQ'd major sponsors of the match. But yeah, I try not. I mean, nobody's perfect. I try not to. I try to be as unbiased as I can humanly know how to be. Is that possible 100% of the time? No, but I try to do my best, and I feel like that's what I would want as a shooter going to a match. I try to give the shooters of this match what I would want as a shooter. Like I said before, when I roll up on a stage, I put myself in the position of if I was this shooter, how am I going to feel, and what would my argument be? Because I tend to read rule books. I'm known to my friends as a bit of a range lawyer. So, it's
Garrison's nodding his
Yeah,
head over here.
Garrison-
By the way, we can't hear head nods on the podcast.
Only dude I've ever seen in my entire life range lawyer his way out of a DQ. Like, it was over, done. I thought, whatever. I walked away. He said, I'm back in. I'm like, I'm impressed.
and I give 100% credit to that, to GoPro, and my ability to not lose my shit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to, but when you're going back to appeal something,
Sure.
your presentation really matters.
Oh,
when you lose your
for
shit,
sure.
you lose a lot. You lose your credibility too.
Yeah, and a lot of the match admin, we know all the guys that run all the big matches, and everybody has different temperaments, and some are more known to be more receptive to things than others. And this actually was not a match where receptiveness to shooters' complaints is necessarily a huge no. We'll talk about it after. It's not really
No f***s were given.
It's not really known for that. And it was actually about 15 or 20 minutes after the stage.
Oh, really?
I was like, I was told no video. Okay, fine. Well, I went and looked at it. I video every stage. I tell my people to video every stage because just in the off chance that it's there and somebody will look at it, you might, be able to show that you're right. And I walked up to him and I said, I know you said you don't want to see the video, but I've got it right here, and I know I'm out, and I'm fine with that. But I just want to show this to you. And darn if I didn't get a reshoot, and off I went. So
wow.
But it was the right call. What happened was I was the only left-hander on the squad. Mm-hmm. I was the last shooter on the stage, and there was a target on probably the 170 to the left. Mm-hmm. You pick up the rifle off the staging table, shoot that target, move on. Well, the RO had seen every other shooter pick it up, right-hander. He's looking at the guy's back. They don't move. Well, as a lefty, I pick up the gun and swing my whole body to the left to shoot the same target. Well, all he sees is rifle coming at his face. Stops me.
Well, and the muzzle brake,
and chest.
so he's probably scared.
Well, no, but he sees chest.
Yeah, I mean, I was facing him, right? So I'm facing. If I'm shooting at this wall, I know people can't see it. I pick it up and I go. He's right here. To him, I'm pointing a rifle. About to point a rifle.
He sees your face. He saw his face and his chest.
Yeah, and it was on. I mean, it was 175.
Sure.
But 175 is not 180.
Right.
And so I get it. He did the right thing. He stopped me, and credit to him because he was cool about it. The MD and the RM were cool about it, and they didn't want to give it to me, but I was right. And that's what's most important to me, and luckily it was to them, and the right call was made. So that's how I would like everything to end is the correct call made. Shooters make mistakes, and
sure.
Everyone
everybody makes mistakes.
Everyone who's DQ'd
man.
here this weekend, I feel like, well, they certainly don't like it, of course, and they may, even if they disagree with the call, every single shooter has handled the situation in an incredibly professional way. And I want to give my personal thanks to each and every one of those shooters for the way they handled themselves because it was exemplary.
Right.
And credit to them for professional behavior. Because that goes a long way with me. It goes a long way with ROs. Because ROs will see, a squad rolls up and everybody rolls their eyes. Or, I mean, your reputation follows you. And this is a small sport where we all mostly know each other.
Yeah.
And like I said, while we all want to be perfect, we aren't. And, perception sometimes leads to a certain reality. And
I don't think there was an RO crew out here where I didn't recognize at least one person from another match. So, I mean, you see the same people again and again, and as I would imagine as an RO, you get to know the shooters because I know as a shooter, I get to know the ROs. Yep. Right? Like, I know, okay, this person's squared away, this person's going to demand this. Yep. That type of thing. So I would imagine it's probably the same thing.
And
reputation,
reputation.
And I'm getting thumbs up from the peanut gallery here as well. So
I mean, reputation matters, and there was whether it's true or not, I don't know, but this is a really hilarious story that kind of defines what we're talking about here. It was some rookie pitcher was his first start. He's throwing to Ted Williams, and he throws three pitches right on the corner, and the ump calls them all balls. He says, "Man, what the hell's going on?" The ump says, "Well, when you throw a strike, Mr. Williams will let you know." So, if you're known as the hothead and the guy that loses his shit and comes unwound when something bad happens, they're going to know that before something bad happens. And when it happens, you may or may not get as many benefits of a doubt. And I'm just speaking in a general sense here. Because that's exactly what we try to avoid here. Right. And today, at the end of a long day where we had some unavoidable delays, some tensions were high. Shooters handled it well. ROs handled it well. There was potential for a bad situation, and everybody handled it well. And that's and I feel like that's all trickled down from, at least I hope it is, influenced by just the trickle down from our attitude of shooters first. So. Yeah,
and shooters first is the vibe I got last year at the match, which is why I'm back here. And that was one of the last year. This is one of the very first match recons I did was the Texas 3-gun championship. And I went back and listened to it as I was cruising down here, and the feedback or the recon was like everything is like super relaxed, calm, and it's not like high tension, high drama that you get at some matches. Like some matches, you show up to a stage, and people are, shouting at you, hurrying you through, and things like that, and that's not like the vibe, and it flows down from the top, right?
So we try, at least all the years I shot this match, the one thing I always noticed is that we do not have that typical RO people tend to talk about. That guy screaming at you, reset, all them things. They're always calm. They're always cool.
Lots of smiles.
And it makes things flow better. I mean, you don't want to, like when an RO acts that way to you, you're just like, well, forget this guy.
Yeah.
But if
you automatically discount his
that
authority,
sets
right?
the tone for the whole
it
squad.
does. And I really think that one of the driving factors on there is that people love to shoot our big-ass stages. And they know that they have to reset those big-ass stages to get to shoot them. So they don't have to have an RO screaming at them to work, because we don't have problems with people getting out and doing the work that's required to have the match. Mm-hmm. Because we had a 73-round stage in this match. It was an 87-round stage, and we made the command decision to pull 14 rounds out of it. It probably would have been a very doable, wicked fun 87-round stage. But if you don't reset those 73 rounds worth of targets.
Yeah.
Within, we work on a very tight matrix, or else this doesn't work. If we don't average 5 minutes from beep to beep over the weekend, we don't get on the road in time. Mm-hmm. So getting everybody out and getting everybody working and everybody understanding that that's part of shooting the match is something that we haven't ever had a problem with. So I feel kind of blessed by that.
Yeah. Well,
because if they don't, then we have to set up smaller stages and they don't get to have as much fun.
Yeah, which is terrible. Because this is Texas. Everything is bigger, right?
That's right.
Aaron, when you and I were chatting when I first showed up here, you were talking about logistics and things like that of setting up the range and the the agreements and everything that you have with the range. One of those was a medical plan. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, we did have a medical incident this morning that had to be dealt with.
Yep.
Don't need to give any sort of details, violation of HIPAA or anything like that, but it did put the match behind by like 45 minutes, right?
It did. Yep. We had a non-shooting related medical incident that required EMS on site, and I believe it was Tuesday before the match, some of the senior emergency response people from Burnett County came up and went over with us for a couple hours. What's the plan? And they know of this place. I mean, as much military training and stuff goes on out here, like
Spartan races.
Exactly.
People turn ankles on Spartan races like no one's business.
So they know this place, and they were very anxious to get out here and figure out, okay, if something happens, what do we do?
Sure.
And
how cool is that they wanted to work with you on that?
Right. Yeah. And so when the incident happened, we went cold immediately. Stayed cold until EMS was clear of the property. Out of respect for them, we don't want them to have to worry about anything else happening. Sure. They may or may not be comfortable with the environment on a gun range like we all are. Like, gunfire is music to my ears.
Oh, yeah. Like, you walk into a gun range and you hear pow, 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 and it's like no big deal. But, from knowing firefighters and EMS, and you know a couple firefighters, like they don't go in unless all the gunshots have stopped, right?
Exactly. So when we had it was under 20 minutes, I believe, was the response time, and we're kind of out in the boonies here.
Yeah.
So
it was pretty fast.
And then of course, in the gun world, a lot of people have a trauma and medical response experience. So thank God we're actually on that squad. There was a couple people that responded instantly in the perfect way, and considering the situation, it was really the best outcome. But basically, when the call came over the radio for a medic, I bet a quarter of the match dropped everything and headed that way. So we had guys with trauma kits, EMTs, firemen, paramedics, nurses. So it's a pretty safe to be around crowd in general at your typical gun match.
No kidding.
So
this is
10 people responded within seconds.
10 people.
Yeah, from varying stages, from the stage where it happened to nearby stages. So it, considering, it's a bad situation, they obviously don't want to happen, but it turned out about as good as it could have considering the circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah, and I did see, according to Facebook, which is where I get all my news, that the person is, live responsive,
Yep,
doing
absolutely.
well, which is fantastic.
Yep, and our
Yep.
prayers are with them.
And honestly,
Yeah.
the biggest, I want to really thank Cindy's Splinter from Troy. She actually rode to the hospital in the ambulance with the shooter and spent about 4 hours with him there until his family showed up.
Fantastic.
So, you
Yep,
know.
props to
and
her.
And it's big props. And it's part of this small community,
Yeah, absolutely. And like we were talking, like, Aaron, we just mentioned that, unfortunately you have to DQ, friends, people you shoot with all the time and stuff like that. Like, and we just talked about, like, how, I know the ROs
Yeah.
know shooters.
Well,
we all know each other.
Yeah.
It's a very, very small community, and we think it's huge because it's all over the country, but it is a very tight-knit community. And so the type of people that will, sit there and argue a call with you are also the type of people that will sit in an ambulance with you.
Or
and-
save your
Yeah.
life.
Or
when
save
you
your
hit
save
the
your
friggin'
ground.
life when you need it,
absolutely.
Yep, because it's still just a game, and at the
Yeah.
end of the day, there's nothing. The game is not worth real life relationships,
Right.
and it's like I said before, if anybody wants to chit chat about anything, I welcome any and all
Yeah.
feedback.
And Cindy had got DQ'd earlier in the week.
Right.
I mean, and she looked at me and said, "You know what? I don't have to shoot. I need to go." I'm like, "Awesome," because somebody needed to.
The system worked.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
it's
And
Props
it's all
to everyone involved.
planning. I mean, it was all planning.
Yeah. So what does it take to put like a plan like that in place? If you can give like the best practices for someone putting on a match, like how would you contact your local?
So here it was easy because they contacted us. They actually were like, you can't have this event without."
Well, how'd they
talking to
hear
us."
about the event?
Through the property owner.
yeah. Vol is very involved in economic development in
Right.
the county, and
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
he's pretty well known. So
Right.
the stuff he does out here is is on the map definitely.
Spartan Race averages like 50 ambulance calls event. So
Yeah.
Yeah. So they definitely know this place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's obviously very venue dependent. I mean, a large part of the plan was what do we do and where do we go
Right.
to meet EMS. So, just working out the specifics with your particular venue, just call them and say, hey, we're doing this, and if something goes wrong, we would like to know what we can do to make it as easy on you to respond as possible. And
'cause
just a little bit of proactive.
Those are like the right words to say right there.
yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, because the plan we have with them, includes landing zones for if we need to do air evac. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a
A couple of hours of planning can save you a
Saved
lot.
a guy's
Maybe
life.
save a guy's life.
Yeah.
yeah. It did
So
today.
and I think that's something we've been fortunate enough to not have to deal with at our match previously. So it was definitely, I don't know if eye opener is the right phrase, but it definitely got our attention
Sure.
Right.
as to the potential
But what?
bad things that can happen and how not
And
unprepared we were.
non-shooting related, right?
Right.
Not-
But
not
yeah,
at all.
but just not really. We just weren't expecting it.
Sure.
And when it happens the first time, you realize how serious. We do our best to put on a safe match, and
Yep.
but when you have this many people together, the odds are of just something random happening.
Yeah.
And it kind of hits home, and I can guarantee you that our planning will be so much more detailed and focused in future years, just because we finally had something actually happen.
Sure.
Yep. And it is critical to always have an emergency plan for a major event like this, and to coordinate with the guys that will have to respond if something happens.
Right.
And that can also even go into look through your shooter list, and if you
Right.
recognize people
Absolutely.
who are
I mean,
medics,
Oh, yeah.
firemen, get
I-
with them and say, hey, if something happens,
One of the shooters after this, because we brief in the match briefing about the emergency plan, and one of the shooters after the emergency plan, after the shooter briefing came up to me and she said, I've been a ER nurse for the last 20 years. If I hear something over the radio, do you want me to respond? I was like, absolutely. I was like, don't get on the radio. Don't say I'm coming. Just show up. Mm-hmm. And she was very crucial in what happened this morning.
And those people tend to
and-
think proactively anyway. Like somebody who's been working in
Right.
ER for 20 years, hears
Yeah.
something on the radio bad happening,
Right.
they're going
She's
to go.
gonna
Yeah.
Right.
Those are the
But the
people
other
you
thing was
want.
great
Yeah.
was that we had a number of combat type medics show up who the second they realized that it's not wasn't trauma, they were there to help, strong back to carry the guy out. But then they packed up and said, hey, man, there's no blood. There's no
There's no
trauma.
holes. This
There's
is
no
not my
There's
deal.
no holes. This
Right.
is not my. This is this is not. It's
Yeah.
not
Knowing your strengths.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it props to everyone involved,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
from the shooter to responders to guys from other squads. guys,
Yep.
men and women from other squads that saved guys' lives.
Well, and we got lucky because most of the squad was downrange resetting when it happened. We got lucky that the one guy who was on deck happened to be a law enforcement officer who was able to get on
Instantly.
And
Like he was standing next to the guy
and recognize what the issue was.
All right, so we have 2 days down to the match. We have 1 day to go. Let's talk about let's go quick around the table talking about what we are most looking forward to tomorrow to wrapping up the match, and then I want to go around the table again and get some best practices from each of your areas of expertise in your role. So, Kurt, let's start with you. What are you looking forward to most about tomorrow and wrapping up the match?
Well, anybody who's ever done this job knows that what I'm looking forward to most tomorrow is going home to see my family.
Come on, man. I'm right here.
Yeah, I know. To see my kids.
Oh, whatever.
Okay. No, I mean, another safe day of shooting, everybody has fun. The whole weekend is about everybody that came out having fun.
Mm-hmm. This is what this is about. Like, I think a lot of times, like, people get super wrapped up in, like, where I'm going to finish and, like, my stage plan and this and that. It's like they forget to have fun.
And I think people are going to be pretty awed by the 11th stage of this match. The 11th stage of this match, what Garrison has put together is going to surprise people a bit. Mm-hmm. There's been a lot of the secrets leaked out because that's part of being part of the sponsors marketing department.
I gotta tell you, okay. So, side note, I'm super pumped about Ruger's involvement in this.
Absolutely,
Ruger has not been a face that we've seen a lot in 3-gun. Like, maybe you'll cruise along the table and see, one or two things from Ruger, but Ruger came out in a huge way for this match. This is absolutely incredible, and Garrison will probably get to this when we talk to you. But our boy Tabor Bright, who couldn't be here because he's a little ill himself, a little under the weather.
Yeah, he has had something go on in his own life that stopped him from being here. And we can talk about Tabor for a minute. He's a wonderful human being. I talked about him last time I was on the podcast, and what he did
Tabor's
to
a great
bring Ruger to here. So when I found out that he was having a situation, he was more upset that he wasn't going to make the match than his situation. Mm-hmm. And I was like, bro, don't worry about this. I got this. And that's what hopefully, that's what I want. That's like if you get sick, that's my job.
We got your back.
My job is to make this happen for you, your company, for everybody. Mm-hmm. So that's what my job is here.
Well, so Garrison, we came over to you. So what are you most looking forward to tomorrow, wrapping up the match?
Happy shooters after leaving the prize table, and on a personal level, I can't wait to clean all the dirt from all the inappropriate places. I've showered every day, but it just doesn't feel like it's coming off.
I tell you what, I'm going to give you a pro tip real quick. This one's free.
Yeah.
Nick Miller, last night comes and he's like, I got a shower, but there's no shower or there's no soap in the bathroom. And so he goes under the kitchen sink and grabs the Dawn.
Yeah.
Goes in there, and I was like, oh, this guy's crazy, right? So today I go to the shower and I forget that there's no soap in there, and I'm like in there and I'm like, I guess I'll just water. But then there's this big jug of Dawn, and I'm talking like industrial jug, like a 2-gallon thing. It's like, well, I guess maybe I'll Dawn. And I donned, man, and the Dawn took off all the dirt.
They use it to clean the oil off the birds.
That's exactly what Nick said. He's like baby ducks.
It says it right on the label.
But there is a lot of dirt in very inappropriate places.
Oh my God!
A week on this ranch.
Yeah. So for people who weren't here, the wind was blowing yesterday. There's red dust and dirt everywhere.
It's like Mars.
Well, it is like Mars because what people who aren't here don't understand is that it's not dirt that you've really experienced before, because what it is it's crushed granite.
Yeah. Red granite.
And it's very fine crushed red granite.
With iron in it. Makes it red. I made that up myself. I did not get that from Brian.
King Hobo.
Aaron, what are you
Aaron.
Aaron, what are you looking forward to most about wrapping up the match?
Well, I'm looking forward to the time I'm probably going to spend on stage 2 tomorrow, because that's where I've spent a decent amount of time so far. I'm thinking about
Yeah.
rolling my RV down there and just setting up camp. But no, I just, I hate, when DQs happen, but once it does, I want to give the best experience possible in the situation. And so I'm looking forward to just being able to try to do everything I can to make sure that shooters feel like the match was fair. Equity of the match is really important to us, from target presentation to consistency of briefings. Are there things that we would like to change halfway through the match? Of course. But I am going to avoid changing something at all costs, because I want the very first guy who shot the first time on that stage to get the same stage as the very last guy on the last day. And that's not as easy as it sounds.
No.
By any stretch, because things go wrong, things break, it gets dark. I mean, we've had the full list of technical issues here that I feel like we've dealt with well. But to me, that's, at the end of the day, would I be comfortable as a shooter with what I'm about to do?
Right.
And
You know what I was just thinking about as you were talking there, Aaron, is you're going through first match growing pains your 4th year in. So you're probably thinking, like, we should be over this by now.
we had a few moments where it was like, man, that range that we all knew like the back of our hands would have been nice. But we worked through them, and there was on one stage, I can't remember what stage it was, but we had some impact issues with rounds going in a place we didn't anticipate. We were about halfway through the first squad of that stage for the whole match. We realized it. We pulled one target. We moved another. We reshot everybody who'd shot and got the problem fixed. And so
it's a safer match for it.
It is, yeah, because the longer the match went, the options get fewer and fewer.
Yeah.
Other than tossing a stage, which nobody wants to see.
No.
So that's just what I am looking forward to, is just continue to try to make it as fair and equitable match as possible, where the shooter feels like they got their money's worth, where they have fun, and where they were respected, because that's not always the case, unfortunately.
No.
Some matches have that vibe. Some matches we're making a match to be hard and to be, super, super
It's a championship match.
hard on you and uncomfortable and all that. So but that's just not what we're going for here. So I want it to be, if I was a shooter, I want the event to be where, if I was a shooter, I would say I definitely really love this event.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. All right, Kurt, let's talk about best practices. So for anyone out there who is an MD or aspires to be an MD, best practices.
And I've talked about this on previous podcasts, but I still think the best practice that we have in play here ever since the first year that really separates us on a lot of things is having our staff scored completely separate from our main match, because that way any problems we find to the stages during the RO match we can fix.
Yeah.
And it doesn't affect the main.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect the scoring at all.
Yeah. And I struggle talking about this because, it's such a small community. You're always worried about what you say. But that is a very unique Texas thing. You don't find that a lot of other places. Like you guys do, Vortex Shooter Source does it. There's not a lot of places that do that. And when you hear stories from ROs of like, oh, yeah, when we shot it, we did this and
Right.
blah, 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 blah.
Or an RO posts a video.
Yeah.
I remember working matches back in the day where the match director said, as an RO, you're not allowed to post a video because we don't want anybody to see what happened.
And I just met a guy this weekend that said that he quit ROing because of the way that RO matches were run. And it's it is an issue. It's a different match. Like last year I shot a bunch of RO matches, and they were different freaking matches.
Yeah.
So, and especially when you go for like jungle runs when like there's not the weed whacker that went through there and trimmed everything out. It is an absolutely different match. So,
and to that point, Garrison and I built the all shotgun stage 10, and it's a woods walk, and we went out of our way to put targets in places where as the stage got shot, target presentation wouldn't change.
Right.
Yeah,
because I've been first up on a jungle run before, and it's literally the jungle, and then I go down there on the final day of the match, and it's just shot to pieces, and you can see everything from everywhere. So, Even in building the stages, that was in the front of my mind. Man, I want to make this the same for the first guy as the last.
I tell you what, I shot it.
And pro tip, at one point, there was one place where there was a target that needed to be, that was going to change. So Aaron went down there with a shotgun and changed it before the match ever started.
Nice. I love that. Last year, I shot a match in Minnesota, and they had a jungle run, and I shot the RO match. And I was surprised that on Sunday when I went through, it literally looked like a lawn care crew had gone through there.
There's lots of matches that do that.
So we don't have jungle in Colorado, so I'm not familiar with that, and that blew my freaking mind.
Yeah.
Like I walked through there and I could see every target that I was hunting and pecking for that first day.
Yep.
And I got infuriated.
There's other matches that I've been to that they like pride themselves on like hiding the
Yes.
targets in the woods, and
That's
it's
the same match.
all the things I think of when I see that is like, okay, well, yeah, that's cool and fine, but the first squad is the squad that really gets boned.
Yeah.
And when me and Aaron built that stage,
And it's the RO
when Aaron
squad.
built the stage, we were knocking things out of the way. I was like, no, that's not going to be there. One stage, I saw a bunch of guys walking, and they were like, oh, there's this bush in the way, this little small weed. This is clay, and he was like, yeah, I'll step over here. And I just walked out. I said, no, you won't, and kicked the bush out because I knew by the end of the match that thing, this little weed, was going to be gone.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, no, I'm just going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So the other best practice that I would say is we have benefited for the last 2 years of hiring a professional stage designer to design a lot of, at least our base stages. Brian Corey spends a lot of time with AutoCAD, figuring out angles, figuring out where rounds are going to impact, things that in base stages are kind of important. And then figuring out ways to screw with your head.
I got a funny story about that, Kurt. You want to hear it?
Sure.
So I was talking to a local match director, and he's like, what was the coolest coolest stage you saw last year? I was like, it was Diamond Stage at Texas Three Gun Championship. Right. And he's like, what did that look like? And I was like, well, I could go through this big drive I have and try to figure out where it's at, or I just texted Brian Corey.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, do you have like a photo of that stage or like a CAD design? He's like, sure. So he sends me 7 CAD photos and the video walkthrough of the thing through CAD. And I showed the match director. I'm like that. It looked like that.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yeah, totally. It was great.
And that came back to the whole first best practice. I'm sure have you shot the pistol stage yet?
Yes.
Yeah. So in the RO match, the pistol stage had 52 rounds.
RO was awesome on that one, by the way.
Yeah. It did. The RO was great on that one. He's actually run the pistol stage every year for us.
Hey.
Because we do. That is one thing we do every year. We have one stage in every year where we have we have an all pistol stage, we have an all shotgun stage, we have an all rifle stage. That's one of our things. I got a lot of shit about it this weekend because they were like, we shouldn't have this goddamn memory PSA stage in a 3-gun match.
This was not.
I'm like, well, you know what?
Stage at all.
But then, one of the best lady 3-gun pistol shooters in the world went in and slayed it.
Yeah, got to see it.
Just demolished it.
It was crazy.
Look at it on our Instagram. It's out there. It is
and
amazing.
Fun fact, it was fast enough to be under the Instagram limit.
Yes.
That is.
Yes.
It's been a highlight of my weekend.
Right.
I'm just like watching it. I'm like, okay, that has to go to the Facebook. That has to go to the Instagram.
Yes.
Okay, where can I? Okay, this guy didn't have a stellar run, but he had a great rifle run, so I'll use that on the Instagram.
Yeah.
And that's been my whole thing this weekend. And when I see one that's like under the 60-second limit, I'm like, yes, whole stage.
One of the things that was cool is my wife was actually able to come out and hang out with me today.
Sorry.
And she made a comment that she thought it was really cool how many lady shooters we had in our match. And a big thing that we've done from the first time, and actually Tom Coletto, when he used to be at Benelli, was the person who actually pushed me into doing this, is having the ladies division. This year we even had ladies-specific porta potties. I mean,
saw that.
we
They're much larger than
Right.
They're probably a lot
ones.
cleaner too.
Yeah, but
I did not look, but
yeah. Well, I mean, so we cater to the ladies. So we have a ladies only division, and we had a couple ladies that shot whatever else they wanted to shoot. That's awesome. But we had 30 plus ladies signed up in
Yeah,
the ladies
that's a lot.
TAC Ops division.
it's a lot.
I will bet money that we just told somebody that was a ladies' porta potty. Like they had no idea.
It's pink.
Oh, yeah.
It's pink.
Like I'm sure that there were dudes that had no idea that was just for ladies.
By the way,
I mean, it's
okay.
pink and it says ladies only on the door.
Sorry,
but
total sidetrack, and it's freaking pink.
Yes.
Anyway, sidetrack. While we're on the porta potty thing, I went to the porta potty today for the first time against my better judgment, and the ground was great, which I totally appreciate for not standing in piss, but. This is Texas, and there's critters everywhere. So I was like, what got in here before I did?
I said the same thing when I went to the porta potty for the first time.
Yeah.
I opened the door and I was like, "Hey,
I
great
can see the
floor.
ground.
That's awesome."
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the wheels on the luggage. What's that?
We shop for good porta.
You shop for
shop.
good porta potties?
Yeah.
Yeah. Porta potty shopping.
but it's cool too because one of like there's at
It's
least
like wheels on luggage.
yeah. At least
It's just an idea that should have happened years ago.
But it's cool though because there's at least one of the ladies who's about the same age as my 12-year-old daughter. So I get to go home and say, hey, look, Ashlyn can do it. Maybe you can do it. Maybe you can stop dancing and start shooting.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I know.
All right, Aaron. Let's talk about best practices for you. What's the someone out there wants to be range master. What are like the few best practices of your position?
I mean, I know I've covered it earlier, but just try to look at things from the shooter's perspective because sometimes it looks a lot different. Try to keep your stages the same. It's obviously shooting a lot of matches and having that experience helps me see stages in a different way than a lot of people, especially people who only run matches and don't shoot.
So maybe do you think get out and shoot matches?
Yeah, or at least involve somebody who does. I mean, I've always intended to shoot this match and never have, but having top level shooters proof shoot your stages is very helpful because there's a lot of things that even one top shooter may not see. But if you can get 2 or 3 guys who shoot a lot and are the gamer, like we say, I mean, gamers can proof a stage like whoa. So have a couple guys who know what they're doing go look at that stage and they can say, well, I know you wanted people to do this here, but I could do this from here and here's what I would do, and you can solve a lot of issues beforehand.
Hell,
So
we still had that argument earlier tonight.
yeah, it's ongoing throughout the year. But that, and then just be respectful. There's a time and a place to yell, and in my personal opinion, the yelling should be directed at me, not coming from me. My job is to put out the fire, and so if you just try to listen to people that are upset, because it's hard to go into a situation where I'm not upset, and then deal with someone who is. Sure. And the potential is really high there for something bad to happen. So I try to keep it at the front of my mind as I'm going into these situations, that the mindset of the people there and how I would feel in that position, and do my best to diffuse it and give them exactly what they want within the rule book as far as the actual outcome of the incident, and then just in terms of listening to them. If they want to vent, have at it. You can vent to me. I'll talk to you about it all day. So I just try to look at it as customer service, because that's our jobs. This is an event that people are paying to shoot, and it's our job to make it as good as possible.
In fact, I seem to remember hearing you say on one of your previous podcasts that it's your entertainment dollars at work.
Yeah. That's a Craig Outson quote that I stole that I really like, and it's absolutely a fact. Like I could be doing many, many, many other things other than this, but this is what I choose to do, right? So I guess what you're saying, Aaron, is like, it's all about the people on all sides.
It is.
And it is that's something to remember, is that we are people, individuals.
Right.
It's not shooter versus
It's
range
easy
master
to
type of
divide things up into ROs versus shooters.
Yeah.
And it's in the
and
short
that's
term
what-
that may be true.
That's
in a
what
certain
we as
situation.
humans want to do. We want tribes, right?
Exactly.
Us versus them.
And when something goes wrong, you want a scapegoat. You want to be able to point at somebody and say, that's the reason that bad thing happened. But we're all on the same team, and there's so much commingling of people who shoot this match but RO others. I'm going to be at matches this year where the guys who are shooting are ROing, and it's going to be a completely reversed situation.
There's half a dozen match directors.
Yeah.
Right.
here.
have major matches that are here shooting.
Yeah.
So it's not always
Yeah,
the
some are
fine
our
lines
own,
of me versus you. It's just not. We're all on the same side. We're all here for the same goal,
Yeah.
and it's sometimes that's not easy to see.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I
that's
try
for
to
sure.
make sure that's always
Right.
the prism that I'm looking through, and it seems to help. I think.
Well, so while we're talking about range master best practices, let's talk about shooter best practices for talking to a range master. Like,
Well-
if I have an issue with a range master, how should I approach that?
You know, if you're in a situation where something goes bad on a stage, controlling your temper, just in life in general, that's a good idea. We're all wired differently, and I get that some people have a harder time with that than others, and that's 100% fine. So don't be afraid to step away if you need to. If things are tense and you don't feel like it's going to go good for you, or you shouldn't be talking to somebody right now, then say, you know what, I need 10 minutes, I need 5 minutes, I need 30 seconds, I need
like
an hour.
that.
And the other thing is the ROs, right? We all have such the RO is the face we're seeing, the face of the match. When something goes bad, you want so bad to lash out at them for what went wrong. Well, just ask for the range master or the match director and give it to them, because the RO, he needs to run the stage. His job is to make sure everyone's safe. If you want to shut down the stage for 30 minutes to have a temper tantrum with the RO, that's not good for anybody.
No.
If the RO is not going to like it, you're not going to nothing good is going to come out of that.
Right.
So as a shooter, when it goes bad, just keep your calm. If you can't, step away until you can. And in terms of getting the outcome that you want, because a lot of the calls we make are subjective and everybody sees events a different way, just try to explain your side with as little emotional angst as possible, because your presentation, I could be sitting right here, Dave, and tell you the same exact thing 2 different ways.
Oh, yeah.
And you would get opposite meanings out of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So it's not always easy to do that in the heat of the moment, but that's the best outcome generally comes from that situation. And we're all here to have fun. So
Yeah.
just be happy. Be happy you're here at the range instead of at work or doing something you may not enjoy doing.
Yeah, no
Because
kidding.
I'm happy to be here. It's a ton of work, but I know me and all the other staff here, we're not here to get paid. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
We're here because we love this match and the sport, and we want it to be fun.
And if
Yeah.
anybody would have told me 4 years ago that I was going to spend this much time at the range without firing a shot, I would have.
Oh, it's killing
Yeah,
me.
I don't
want
know,
so
I don't know
bad
that
to
I
shoot this match.
ever would have got
Yeah.
involved.
All we need to do is take Monday off next year. Shoot it.
Yeah, right.
It's actually a great idea.
It's the senior
Everybody's
staff.
having
I'll shoot
fun
the
but
aftermatch.
me.
I don't want to shoot the RO match. I'll shoot the aftermatch. That
Right.
sounds like more fun.
Well, and the other thing with back to the RO prize table thing is a lot of ROs, they'll come out and shoot the whole match in 1 day or 2 days. I mean, it's a grind.
Right.
So it's, you've got the conflict of interest with things being changed and different, but you've also got those guys are doing the same amount of shooting in a day or a day and a half that everyone else is doing on a half-day format over 3 days. So of course their scores are not. Let's
Yeah.
say let's say I wanted to shoot a match and shoot an RO match. Well, I have not RO'd any major matches, and that's because I want to go shoot the match, and my result is important to me. And I feel like shooting an RO match
Yeah. I mean,
is not conducive to a good result. There's no way I'm going to shoot as good in
No.
that match, assuming that everything else is the same, stages don't change, and all that other stuff we discussed earlier.
I've seen the
I
number
used- I
15%, but I think it's way more than 15% down from where you'd normally finish.
I used to shoot a lot of RO matches.
What do you think?
I've never thought about looking, but
Yeah, at least.
I actually do intend to RO a match or two just because I want to do it, because
Right.
I've done this match
Yeah.
now enough times that, I've seen it from the position of the shooter. Now I've seen it from the position of admin.
This is your first time? Brian's saying it's his first time shooting the match. What do you think? First time RO in the match.
Yeah, Brian has always
Yeah.
been more involved
Yeah.
in the build and whatnot leading
Yeah.
up this year. But
Yeah.
this year he's just a straight RO, same
Right.
stage the whole weekend.
Yep. And I mean, I used to RO a lot of matches. I don't know. I guess I was a sucker. I don't know. I used to RO a ton of matches. And man, when you had to shoot 10 stages in a day,
It's tough. It's tough, right?
Or
Brian?
even worse,
Brian's nodding
I
his
can
head.
remember a couple times where we didn't get our whole 10 stages in the day.
Yeah.
So then throughout the weekend, in addition to running shooters through your stage,
Yeah.
you had to try to get back to the stage that you didn't get shot and get it shot. So it's like, hey man, I know I'm shooting through, but I've got a squad that's going to be on my stage in 20 minutes. I need to shoot this stage. Isn't real conducive to being competitive.
So the other thing I would say is that shooting an RO match is difficult, right? being an RO is very, very difficult. And it's not only difficult like logistics-wise,
Right.
time investment-wise, but physically being on the hot sun,
it is
things
a
like that.
Oh, yeah.
down.
Back and forth, back and forth,
knowing
back and
that
forth,
you're going to do
back and
30
forth.
miles over the weekend.
Knowing you're going to do 34 miles over the weekend. But there is so much importance that, placed upon that we all need to find a way to contribute to our matches. Our buddy Adam, shooting was way easier than RO duty. Yeah, it's very true. Our buddy Adam Maxwell likes to say that he ROs the Nordic Vortex Trigun
Yeah.
because it's his home match, and people are coming into his home,
Yep.
and he wants to be a good guest for that, right? If we all looked at it that way, and we all RO'd one match, there'd be no shortage of ROs.
I used to do that. And
There's-
that was the match that led into this match existing.
There's a lot of people that shoot. There's not very many people that RO.
Yep.
We need to take turns.
And if you would RO a couple matches, and like I said, I haven't RO'd, but being on the match admin, I feel like that's a good. I've seen it enough.
Match admin is value added.
Right.
It's
But-
there's value in that.
But it will help
for a
you
match.
see the ROs in a different light because it's easy to take them for granted. They're just the guy with the timer to yell at when things go bad. If you RO a couple matches and be on the other end of a couple of those incidents, it'll be good for you as a
Yeah.
shooter in terms of temperament, in terms of how you handle yourself when things go badly. Understanding, we with all the political debates and whatnot on Facebook, it's just all noise, right?
Sure.
Like actually understanding the person you're
Yes.
conflicting with is very rare.
And face to face is the way to do it.
It is, but when you can make that happen, the results are generally much better than any other way that I've found.
Right. And so choose a match, choose one close to you, RO that match, contribute to the sport.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
All right, Garrison. Final last thoughts, parting thoughts. What the hell did I call them?
Best
Summary.
practices.
Best practices. Garrison, best practices for the role that you're in: sponsor coordinator, sponsor advocate, and social media maniac, as I like to call you.
Like Aaron says, he talks about the shooter. Well, mine is the exact opposite. I like the shooter. I want the shooter to do great, but I'm really focusing on the company. I want these people to have the most ROI on, what they're doing. They're giving us marketing dollars. This is what this is.
Right.
And so, I'm trying to do a mix of things on the social media that's highlighting their shooters. I try to go around and find every sponsor to a point that I could that had a shooter here and talk about them on the social media with a mix of talking about the boost there. And so it was important for me to do that. And it's also important for me to, make sure they're happy with what we got. That was the most important thing to me. Going into next year, I hope some of these people want to come back, but if they have any thoughts or comments, I would love to hear from them.
Sure.
Send me an email. Another thing that we were really excited about this year is we teamed up with a charity. Gruber actually did, and then we helped raise a good amount of money for them. That was also important. You helped with that today.
Yeah, it was HAVA is honoring
American veterans of field.
I always forget the A.
They
is
do,
weird.
and they do a lot of things with wounded.
They do a lot of hunting stuff.
Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of wounded hunting,
Yeah.
wounded warriors with hunting and keeping the guys that keep us free and allowed to do this.
Right.
They take them out and make sure they they're having a good time.
And it's cool because we've always, I remember about 10 years ago having to get used to getting my ass kicked by a one-legged, one-eyed guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he's helped me with my stage plans this weekend. James Gill.
Badass.
But
Yes.
true badass. I mean,
Serious
like I
badass.
said, talk about a humbling experience. Just getting your ass whooped by a dude who doesn't have an eye to do an offhand, a weak hand rifle shot.
I don't even consider that anymore. When
But-
people are like,
no,
that was a great run for a guy with one leg. I'm just like,
but
that's just a great
that was the thing.
I mean, he's winning the match.
But that was the thing.
right?
Not only did we never have to really plan for that because James can do everything that that anybody else can do. But what's cool is this year we had our first, wounded vet come out and shoot in his track chair.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, Ruger actually, to touch on that, Ruger, at the level they came in, they received obviously some shooter slots, and I think they used one for themselves, maybe two. And then after that, all of them went to veterans.
Oh, you're kidding.
They gave them up. They called
Wow,
Hava.
that's incredible.
And said, hey, send us a list of people that you want to shoot this match that can't shoot this match. So, was really important to see. So.
Absolutely.
And what a great thing to do. I don't think I've ever heard of that done with shooter slots before. Usually if it's not a sponsored shooter, it just goes unused. What a cool use of that spot.
Most definitely. And it definitely was. And that's, once again, that's all Tabor Bright.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
That was his idea. That was
Tabor's a huge supporter of Hava.
Yeah.
Tabor gets out with Hava a lot and works with them, and between Tabor works with a lot of organizations. Between Hava, between the junior camps. But it was really cool. So we actually had to plan some of our stages around making sure there was room for the track chair to be able to make all the movements. I mean, think about stage 7, which was kind of a mirror stage, lots of walls, lots of everything. Making sure that there was wide enough berth for that, and it was we talked to him ahead of time. I talked to Monty Long at
how big does it have to
XS
be?
Sites because Christian, who's the wounded vet who's shooting, actually works at XS Sites.
Oh, cool.
He's like, hey, man, we're bringing the track chair. I'm like, cool. What's the width of the track chair? It says 37 inches. All right, perfect. So we'll make sure that everything has room for the 37 inches in the track chair, to be able to maneuver.
Yeah. How awesome is that? Stages are ADA compliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. All right, Garrison, anything else as far as the social media sponsor coordinator thing? First of all, let me say, as far as match wide, I think it's cool that you guys are doing something in addition to just placing banners on a stage. It seems to be the old school thought is, well, they paid for this, they're going to get a banner on the stage. And thinking outside the box and providing additional value is something that is unique but necessary.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as matches grow.
Yeah.
I mean, not matches grow. As we get more and more matches in the community, advertising and marketing dollars get stretched even more thin. So
Sure.
These people are going to be more selective. So by allowing us to go out and use social media and that stuff, I feel we are bringing more to our plate. So hopefully that's something that will be looked at.
Well, and how to give a sponsor true ROI on a match, nobody really knows.
Right.
That's a hard solution that nobody's really solved. So, I mean, when you look at things like NASCAR, there's a reason that Tide Detergent puts their logo on a car because it's worth it to them. So if we can work with sponsors to figure out how to make it worth it to them,
sure,
then the pot will only grow bigger. If they see more value here than normal, and they say, oh man, these guys at Texas 3 Gun really did this differently, and we like the direction this is going, then it'll get bigger next year.
Yeah.
So, and then other people can notice, and if we can kind of morph the sponsorship model into a more defined, here's what they want, and here's what we can do to help them to make it worth their investment. I mean, that's great for our match. That's great for other matches. That'd be great for shooters. That'd be great for everybody.
Oh, totally. Rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yeah.
I tell you, we talked about it earlier as far as unique uses of your match sponsorship as a sponsor. Red Stitch is someone I see that does it really well.
Yep.
They sponsor a stage, and then they're out there with a really nice camera, and they're taking tons and tons of pictures, and they use that as a marketing engine for the next month.
Right.
Yep.
And it pays dividends. They are getting their value from that.
And we have the stage that the entire stage is their product.
Yes. Yeah, but I mean, they get tons of shooting photos too, and it's brilliant because they're taking pictures of shooters shooting their targets, and then those shooters share it on their social media, and then they get that shared with their targets. I mean,
it grows.
Is anyone listening?
Yeah,
That's really
it
smart.
just keeps growing. And while we brought up Red Stitch, I do want to mention something. So the side stage that Ruger has, I called Darren, and I said, hey, we need some targets.
Darren at Red Stitch.
Darren at Red Stitch, yes. We need some targets. Ruger's giving away all these guns in this side match. Would you be willing to put something out there? He didn't miss a beat. He said, absolutely, what do you need? And I said, hey, I just need 12 targets. Are you okay with us raffling off them? He said, absolutely. I said, it's just rimfire only. Okay, so when I went and picked them up on Thursday, I was like, hey, the rimfire rated, right? So I went and tell people there, nah, man, these are our real targets. Like, he actually gave exactly what.
Right, they're all AR-550.
They are AR-550.
Nice.
So he didn't cheap out. So he's putting skin in the game.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way. I mean, they come out, they do big things, they get the big camera, they do the marketing,
They make great targets.
They make great targets.
Yeah.
I mean, and Darren's one who, so a funny, Brian DeDecker and I had to load 1,800 pounds of steel off of a pallet into the back of a pickup truck, and then off of the pickup truck back onto the ground earlier this week. If you've ever listed an 18 by 24 inch steel challenge gong, the normal AR-550 steel is 3/8 of an inch wide. Well, Darren ran out of 3/8 inch plate, so he ended up doing some of our targets in 1/2 inch.
Those will last forever.
A 1/2 inch.
By the way, I noticed
18
that
by 24
on that red
inch.
stitch stage, I picked up one of the poppers, and I was like, is this 1/2 inch?
Yeah.
And it's like a pistol popper.
Dude.
I'm like, I'm shooting that thing with a rifle.
The shotgun slug, the big 18 by 24 inch shotgun slug target on that thing is a 1/2 inch.
Oh, man.
18 by 24 inch steel challenge plate.
That's going to take slugs until the end of time.
Yeah. Well, and it's a good workout too
Yeah,
because
for sure.
it's heavy.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we have an early call time tomorrow. I can see all of us yawning fading a little bit here, but I want to thank you for such a great match so far and for being on the Three Gun Show here and sharing your expertise in the different areas of the match, which I think are three very important areas of the match. And Garrison, your area is like new and undefined right now, and it's just coming around. But I think we're going to see a lot more people dedicating more resources to that specific function from here on out. But guys, thanks for a great match so far. Thanks for being, the hospitable Texans that you are, and thanks for being on the Three Gun Show.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having us.
Yep, thanks for having us.
Hey, before you take off, check out the show notes at threegunshow.com for links to things that we discussed in the podcast. You can also sign up on Patreon as a Three Gun Show supporter or purchase Three Gun Show apparel. This podcast is brought to you by Breda USA, Italian shotguns that are the best in the world. And this is a shotgun tech tip from Team Breda. Hey, this is Dave Hartman from the Three Gun Show, and I'm with Josh Tarrant of Team Breda, and we are going to show you a shotgun tech tip. Josh, what do you got?
All right, today I'm going to teach you guys how to do an emergency reload or a bolt lock reload. You have fired your last round, your gun's gone empty. You don't want it to be empty, you need to get it back in the game. So what you're going to do is immediately get the gun in your loading position, draw your shells, close the bolt, perform your reload, trip your release, rack it, back shooting.
And that's your tech tip for today from Josh Tarrant of Team Breda. Check out Breda's B12i 3-gun ready inertia-driven shotgun at BredaUSA.com. That's BREDA. Quick reminder that if you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, subscribe in iTunes, Google Play, Podcast Addict, or wherever you get your podcast content, so you will always get the very latest. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'm Dave Hartman, and I'll see you on the range.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.